We will now discuss software licensing and the different schemes that are applied nowadays on-premise and on the cloud. Software licensing is a way of managing your software assets. It ensures that the original developers get compensated for their program code. It also protects the software developer using the code from any legal actions. Software licensing also allows for tighter control over how many times a program can be used, which can help avoid piracy and illegal distribution. Use of software without a license is considered illegal across the world. If you don't have the right to use the software, then you could be violating copyright laws and you can end up in jail in many countries. A license, by definition, is an agreement between the developer of the software and the user. The license outlines the rules the user has to follow, and in many cases it includes the permission to use the software, usage rights, number of users, warranty terms, copyright definition, terms of termination, and penalties for non-compliance. Management needs to ensure that software copyright laws are being adhered to in the company in order to mitigate the risk of penalties and negative publicity from illegally using copyrighted software. Options that would limit exposure to software license violations include establishing policies and procedures that would guard against unauthorized usage of or copying of software, establish a log for all licensed applications and system software, centralizing the software installation function so that only licensed software would be installed. You can as well run all applications through a server with a metering software. So whenever you want to install any kind of software, you run it through a centralized server with a metering on the number of licenses that are being used and the number of licenses that are being returned throughout a company. And the good recommendation here is to use diskless workstations that rely on secure server for running software so that users will not have the ability to install softwares. It's also a good practice to not grant users admin rights on their laptops across the company so that they will not have the ability to install unlicensed softwares. There are two primary types of software licenses: commercial ones and open source. Commercial ones require a fee, meanwhile the open source are free to use. However, the open source software license do come with certain obligations. We have many types of licenses under both categories. We'll start first with a public domain license. Public domain licenses are reserved for software that is not copyrighted and does not require permission to use. Moreover, you will not have to pay any fees or royalties to the owner. The second type is GNU LGPL. It's essentially the same as public domain software, but it also offers a warranty. You will still be able to modify and reuse the code without any problems. The third type is permissive license, which allow for any type of modification as long as the original license is acknowledged. The copyleft license is a type open source software that allow for specific types of reuse and modification. If you modify the code, then your version must be released under a copyleft license. And the last one is proprietary license, which is the only type of software that is not open source and it requires a fee. Let us discuss the same concept on the cloud. On the cloud, you can actually you can pay as you go or as you consume on the cloud, or you can have reserved instances of virtual machines, of databases, of any computer resources. So under both circumstances, if you're paying as you use or if you have reserved servers, you can also bring your own license. It's called BYOL, bring your own license. So if you have existing licenses, you can save some cost and you can deploy those licenses on the cloud. On the cloud, we have various offerings. We have IaaS or infrastructure as a server. We have PaaS or platform as a service, and SaaS, which is software as a service. On this slide here, you can see the responsibility levels under each model. So on-prem, you are responsible for the whole stack, from the application to the servers. The dark blue represents the user managed responsibilities. Meanwhile, the light blue or the baby blue are the ones or lay under the responsibility of the service provider. So under the IaaS, for example, the service provider will be responsible for the virtualization, networking, storage, and servers. If you are taking a SaaS or software as a service application, you will not be responsible for anything. Actually, you will just use the service provided by the SaaS vendor. It's kind of similar to a pizza. I like to make this analogy. So if you're ordering a pizza for delivery, it's like a SaaS service, just consuming the pizza. If you have the pizza, you're getting the pizza from the supermarket, getting it ready to be heated. This is a PaaS service because you still need to do some work eventually. If you're making the pizza from scratch, you're getting all the ingredients, etc. This is like the on-premise because you're responsible for putting all the ingredients together and baking the pizza. So the level of responsibilities vary between these cloud offerings.